last standing ovation I got was at my wedding when they were all actually standing for my wife. It's nice to have it happen again.
Just kicked off.
Oh, the mic dropped. Come on, Mike. You can all hear me anyway, right? Yeah. How about now?
Yeah. Perfect.
I think whenever I slipped it in the bucket, it flipped back. How about that? Is that so good? Good. All right. Well, thank you guys for taking the time. You just all heard from my friend and mentor, Brian Lee, downstairs. I'm like Brian Lee light. But the good thing is I get a little bit of time to talk to you guys about how we're building a brand in a space that is traditionally viewed as a commodity. And we sort of renamed it a little bit to loyalty in the age of hyper competition. You know, when you think about the world that we're in right now, starting especially an e-commerce company is really wildly easy. If you have Shopify and literally a couple bucks, you have an e-commerce company. And so competition is crazy. So how do you actually separate yourself from the pack and get outside of all that noise? There's a lot of things you can do to create loyalty in any business. The big things that I'm going to talk about here are less about individual tactics and tools and much more about building the soul of a brand such that you have a relationship with a customer that goes well beyond the individual transaction. Again, getting someone to buy something online is in itself a commodity. If you have a product that is not completely protected via patent or exclusive rights or whatever it might be, that can be replicated, but what is harder to replicate is the soul of a brand. And so we'll talk through these things. Competition's crazy, right? So just in my category, we have big incumbents, a couple $billion brands, FTD and 1-800-Flowers. We have a bunch of folks in mass that got into flowers, Kroger, Ralph's, Whole Foods, Costco. We have all these mom and pops, tens of thousands of individual local retailers, whether it's online or brick and mortar, that are all selling a very similar product. And then you have other startups. BloomNat, H Bloom, Urban Stems, Bloom Nation have all raised A rounds of roughly $5 to $6 million each. When you put it all together, you got $40 million of venture capital just in the last few years going into my category. And so how is it that we break out of all of that noise, especially when there's other products you can buy instead? Our competition actually made flowers not cool for a very long time. Flowers used to be this amazing thing, right? When I grew up, if my dad brought home flowers, I was like, wow, he's like the most romantic man in the world. This gesture is so amazing. And because 1-800-Flowers and FTD treat it like a $19.99 bargain basement product price, it cheapens the actual act of giving flowers. So other products can swoop in and take away that day. Now all of a sudden we're buying books on Kindles, or we're buying Kindles, or we're buying cookies, or all these other things. So in the face of that and just crazy channel growth, I was shocked the other day when I went to go through security and there was a Snapchat ad in my security bin. I was like, there's nowhere left without an ad. I started checking toilet stalls for ads at this point because there is a message everywhere. So with all the social media proliferation and all your friends saying buy this or check this out or whatever, all the messages and all these different platforms, what are we to do as brands to stand out? And in the face of Amazon, it's even bigger. Because if your goal is to compete on price and to sell something that other people have access to, you will lose. You're never going to beat Amazon on two things, convenience and price. Never going to happen. I don't care if you're Jet.com. I don't care if you're Walmart that buys Jet.com. I don't care if you have the most amazingly efficient marketing funnel in the history of the world. Amazon will beat you because they don't care about making money. They just want market share. So how do we beat this? We do things that they can't do or don't want to do or don't have the expertise to do. Tactics matter a lot. So there's lots of things in loyalty you can do. You can launch loyalty rewards programs. You can do cart abandon retargeting. You can do display retargeting. You can do all kinds of tactics. I'm not going to talk about that because my company sucks at those things because we're still relatively young. We're a 48-person company in a $15 billion market just trying to make our way. So I can't talk to you about how these things should be done because I don't know yet. I've just hired in the last year a bunch of people who really know these things. They're going to start doing them. And a year from now, maybe I'll come back and we'll talk about that. But today we're going to talk about just building the foundation. What is the thing that you're going to build your business on that's going to allow this all to be possible? That's actually going to give you a shot to optimize display retargeting. What are we going to do that? So there's 5 big ideas that we're going to talk through. The first is have a mission. The biggest thing that you can take away from this conversation, if you're going to be especially an e-commerce retailer, is that your mission cannot be to make money selling stuff. If you do that, you go right back to Amazon. You're dead in the water. You have to have a reason for being that creates a relationship that goes beyond that. So your mission is a rallying cry for consumers to jump behind. And not every single consumer you're going to get is even going to know about that mission or is going to care about it. What it's going to do is, once they understand it, it's going to create a relationship that's stronger than if it was just, I'm here to sell you stuff so I can make money and you can get that stuff. That is not inspiring to people. It is not what brings people to brands in this crowded market today. Once they understand that, they love you. And love will always beat money. Every single time. At the Bouqs company, our mission is to bring romance and delight back to what was once a noble exchange, the giving and receiving of flowers. It sounds very lofty. It sounds very soft, it's very fluffy, but man, it works. Because when people experience that in our shopping, when they experience it in our customer service, when they experience it as employees, they get jazzed. And then they want to talk about that. People are not jazzed when they shop 1-800-Flowers. Most of the time, they're actually kind of pissed. Because they got this price that ended up not being real, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But building that mission and understanding what that mission is and living that within your organization is the single most important thing to building loyalty long term. And it's hard to do early. It took us 2.5 years of just working on it to get it figured out, and I'm sure we'll keep iterating on it. But it is the building block for the rest of what you'll do in building brand loyalty. The second thing is respect your clients. And this sounds obvious. Well, of course I respect my clients. Many, many, many brands do not respect their clients in a lot of ways, and you might not even realize that's what you're doing. Here's what some of our competitors do. So this is a real example that we pulled up from 3 days ago. The advertised price here, it's a great deal, guys. Buy 12 roses, get 12 free and a free vase for $29.99. What was weird, when we checked out, the price was $84.29. More than twice the advertised price. So what is this telling me as a consumer? It's telling me I cannot trust you, 1-800-Flowers. You are not being honest with me just to get things started. That's painful. As a consumer, you're not respecting me. You think I'm dumb. You're going to add things. This is my favorite one. There's a carrot. Where is it? Oh, it's not on this one. Oh, bummer. We should have found one with it. It's my favorite charge. It's called carrot handling. And it's $3.99 typically. ProFlowers loves this one. It's $3.99. And the weirdest thing about that is, like, so if I don't pay it, are you not going to care about my order? Are you not going to handle my order? Like, you can't touch that one, guys. They didn't pay the $3.99. This is a ridiculous proposition, and it's only designed to bait and switch you to get you into the funnel more efficiently. And they know once they have your credit card information, you're going to check out X% of time, so it doesn't hurt them. But it doesn't hurt them in the short run. It absolutely hurts them in the long run. They're not building any loyalty by treating it this way. What we do is we say our price is $40. And guess what? When you check out, it's $40. No additional hidden fees, none of that kind of stuff that doesn't respect the user. You also have to respect their inbox. This is a category where a heavy user will buy 5 or 6 times a year. And everybody, if you dare, go and sign up for 1-800-Flowers after the year ProFlowers and see what happens. You will get 5 to 6 emails a day because they don't respect your inbox, which means they don't respect you, which means you're not going to be loyal. The number 1 and number 3 most unsubscribed brands in the country, according to Unroll Me, were 1-800-Flowers and ProFlowers. Because nobody wants to deal with that. They're 50% unsubscribe rates. We will email you 1 to 2 times a week, and because we respect you, we respect your time. And when we email you, we're trying to give you something that's interesting for you. We have to respect the client by respecting their inbox. You also have to deliver on expectations. This is another one of my favorite things that happens in our category. So this bouquet right here is literally physically impossible to create. No florist in the history of time can make that happen. Why? Because there's this thing called gravity. And gravity means that when you put flowers in a vase, they equally distribute around. Which means if you're on this side, you only see the front half. What they do is they take the back half, they Photoshop it, and they put it on top. That doesn't happen in real life. So even if the local florist has exactly those colors, even if they have exactly those flowers and they deliver them on time, they physically cannot deliver the expectation they have set. And it might be better or more fun to set a higher expectation, but if you don't deliver on that expectation, you just burned a bridge. I don't trust you anymore. Because you're not building loyalty. The other sort of real issue they have is they don't know what the local florist even has in stock, so they might not have those flowers. So the florist is allowed to pick whatever they want from the shop. It doesn't matter if the picture is these multicolored tulips. I'm going to go with white roses. Why? Because that's what we had. Sorry. Doesn't build trust, doesn't build loyalty. The last part is respecting their time. You have to make it really easy to check out. My good friend Andy Dunn founded Bonobos to do a better fitting pant. What he did really well was just make it easy to get the checkout. You get to this pant, you add it to the cart, you fill in your information, you're done. It's over. It's a couple clicks. No one wants to be bogged down in long funnels. Well, why don't you want to buy this? Why don't you want to buy that? How about this other option? Just get them out the door, respect their time. And the best way to respect their time is via subscription. You lock in the LTV, you automate the work that they would have to do otherwise, and you protect their time in a way that lets them know you respect them. It's a great business model as well, but it builds loyalty because it makes it more convenient to shop because you just don't have to do anything. We have a subscription option. It's called Just Because. I created this for me. So when I started the company 4 years ago, we were 6 years into our marriage, and when we got married, I was sure that just like my father was when I was a child, I would be the romantic guy that brought home flowers all the time for no reason whatsoever. 6 years into marriage, I'd done it twice. So every 3 years, I had this intention. I had this desire to be this romantic guy for my wife. I just didn't do it. Why? Life? I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do it. So instead, we created a subscription. It's called Just Because. I just put in the number of times a year I want to surprise her, and we have an algorithm that randomly decides when I'm going to surprise my wife. So you say 8 times a year. You might get them 2 weeks in a row. I love you for no reason, or you might get them, 2 months from now. But it automates this piece, right? And it's more convenient for the sender. And the pushback I always got, especially from the women, and we're like, but I want him to remember on his own because I want it to be genuine. And I'm like, look, there's 2 worlds you can live in. You can live in the world where you live in now, which is it doesn't happen, or you can live in the world where I help. The point is, I'm creating brand loyalty by making it easier for those forgetful people to send I love yous for no reason. You also have to give them something new. If a brand gets stale, they bounce. Because they're getting all this new messaging all the time, right, we're sort of addicted to it, right? There's huge studies about how addicted we are to our phones. 30% of people on their phones right now. We can't put them down. And that means that everyone's always open to the next message. And so you have to be that next message in your category. You have to have something new to talk about. JustFab does a great job in their model of bringing people back every month. They have a subscription model where you have the option at the beginning of each month to skip the month, or you can let it charge you and then use the money to buy something. What Adam did that I thought was really brilliant with this model, it wasn't about the subscription. It actually wasn't about the revenue. Most people will skip. It's about the fact that you have a reason to come back to the site every single month to check out what else they have. It brings you physically back. It gives you a reason to check it out. So it's creating newness for the user via the model. Newness can be achieved through new products. That one's pretty obvious. Stories is a way that I really love to create newness. Because you can have the exact same product, and you can tell a new story about that product, and it brings people back. So an example for us is we have a farm video series. We've flown around the world, a crew. I think we have 28 of these now. You can find them on YouTube and on our website that tells the story of the product. And every once in a while, we'll hit you with a, hey, did you know that the guy you bought flowers from has a farm 10,000 feet above sea level on the side of a volcano called Cayambe? And that volcano just erupted. Look at what the farm looks like now with the volcanic ash over these flowers. And people go like, no way, that's a real story. I want to check that out. And all of a sudden, they're buying stuff. So you're creating newness. Even though the same flowers were there, something happened. We built a story around it. We told it to the customer. They come back. New designs, new options and features, new pricing. Tom's is one of the best storytelling brands in the world. I mean, their entire brand is a story about buying and giving at the same time. Building content around your product and then telling those new stories. It's not every day, right? We're not pushing out a new video every day, every week. We're not going to hit you with 5 or 6 a day like 100 Flowers or FTD. We're to give you enough reasons to come back that we're going to feel new to you as a client. And then the last part, and especially in a commoditized industry or one that is viewed as a commodity by a lot of folks that currently compete, is you have to differentiate that product. Our competitors think that the reason why they can bait and switch you on the $19.99 to $85 is because you don't have anywhere else to go. There's nothing different. Everybody does the same thing. The flowers are the same either way, right? If you get a flower and I take a picture of my rose and I take a picture of their rose at a certain stage, it's going to look exactly the same, right? There's no stamp on it. I can't brand it. There's no way to actually make that look different. But there are actual physical differences that can be present in flowers. There's a lot of different ways to tell that story. One is through the actual product qualities, right? So our flowers are cut direct from a farm and shipped to you. That means they arrive 4 or 5 days after they're cut. Everybody else's flowers are roughly 2 weeks old when they get to the florist. So by the time they get to you, they're 17 or 18 days old. You can't tell that up front, but you can tell that on day 8 when ours are still alive and on day 2 when theirs are not. So that is something that takes experiencing the product to see, but it very clearly differentiates the product. You can talk about your sourcing methods. Where do flowers come from? Where does your product come from? Who produced it? How was it produced? Was it handmade? Was it in factories that respect their workers? Was it in artisan homes around the country? Whatever it might be, you can tell that sourcing story and make a product that might look at the end very similar feel very different. Transparency of source of where it came from is, I think, the way that especially millennials expect to shop. A lot of people think of it as nice to have. I actually think it's table stakes long term. I don't think anybody is going to be selling stuff without true transparency in 50, 75, 100 years. I think we're at the very beginning of this movement, but I think it's absolutely critical to build a brand today because that next generation of shoppers absolutely viscerally cares about this piece. You can have exclusivity, that's great. You're the only one who can create the product. That makes it pretty differentiated. Harder and harder to do, right? Pretty much anything can be ripped apart and put back together in a way that's just close enough. But if you can get a patent, if you can get protection, if you can get exclusive sourcing, you can have a very differentiated product. And then you can curate. And I think curation is one of the things that Amazon, by definition, will never do. And so it's a very defensible space. And not everybody wants to sort of just go to Google Shopping and start sorting through everything to find the thing they want. Right? JustFab's going to curate a personal showroom for you. Certain brands will focus only on underwear, MeUndies here in LA. Right? They're focused on doing underwear great because the other folks are doing all kinds of things. They're not going to do it as well. So curating the world and making it easier for folks to find what they're looking for is huge. For us, the biggest things are InHouse Designs. We take essentially recipes from farms and then we build things out of them. So we'll go to a farm in Chile where we're launching a new peony farm that's actually going to get you peonies at a time of year you could never get peonies. Ladies, I know that you're all jonesing about peonies. We'll go to that farm, we'll just say, what do you have for us? What do you got in a given season? And we create new designs out of it. If you go on 100 Flowers, FTD, Pro Flowers, and you look at the pictures, I guarantee you, if you swap them, you would never know the difference. It all looks exactly the same. So we design stuff in-house to make sure it feels different. We have complete transparency of source. Literally, I have folks on the farm every week visiting these farmers. We see the product they're growing, we see how they're growing it, we see how they're treating their labor, we see how the sausage is made to make sure that it's up to par with what our clients are looking for. And we use data every single day to make sure that we're adhering to those brand standards. If we start to slip, we dive right in, we fix the problem, we make it better. And creating a sustainable or responsible supply chain, this is different in lots of industries. For us, we had this huge opportunity to fundamentally change the way flowers works. So from the farm to the florist, before you order, 50% of flowers die without ever being sold. That is vast economic and environmental waste. By using data and technology, we knock that down to 1 to 3%. So for the environment and for the business, everything is just better. And by being all the way back to that source, we can confirm for you that it's being sourced in a way that you're going to feel good about. I always hate telling this story or this anecdote, but everybody who's here is married. Put your hands up. So who here had flowers at their wedding? Put your hands up again. All of you had flowers, unfortunately, that were picked under duress by child labor. It is a verifiable fact. Because those flowers came from a farm that does it the wrong way. They got mixed in with all the farms that do it the right way in Miami. They got mixed further at a wholesaler. They got mixed further at a florist. And there's no tag following that flower around that says it was sustainably sourced or responsibly sourced. And so the way that we tackle that problem, by the way we enact social change at the beginning of the supply chain, is by being at the beginning of the supply chain. And that differentiates the product in an amazing, emotional way. As soon as brides learn that they might have flowers that are picked by children under duress, I guarantee you they want an alternative to that. There's an educational gap for us there. We have to teach people about this. We have to teach them that this is a problem. But once we get there, the behavior shifts because people care about where their products come from. And so it's another great way to create sustainability. The last piece is killing them with kindness. You know, Zappos created this bar that all the rest of us have to try to catch up to. And for better or for worse, it's become the expectation for clients. Clients expect really amazing customer service. And if you don't give it, they will blast you on social media. I have been called lots of names because flowers got lost on Mother's Day, destroying us on Twitter. We are not a perfect company. We will never be a perfect company. Nobody will be a perfect company. But how do you handle it? What do you do to do great service? The first thing that we try to do, and this is sort of our interpretation of the Zappos way, is be extremely fast in response times. We're less than 10 minutes on social media, almost 24 hours a day, not quite, but very close to it. People do expect email to be within hours. We get to typically 1 to 2 hours on a customer response. They want to know that their product is protected by some sort of guarantee. We have a happiness guarantee, which means if we screw up, we just give you free flowers. It happens, not often, but 1 to 2% of the time we don't deliver all the way. VIPs expect to be treated like VIPs, and more everyone's a VIP in their own mind. So folks that have even the potential to be VIP, you have to start off that way, because if you don't, they're gone. And make sure that you're being human in those interactions, that you're talking to them as a human would. Now, not every single response can be a human, right? We can't have a highly trained customer service representative talking to everybody at every moment. But you can build scripts, you can build automation that feels very human, that feels like it has a heart, that cares about the customer. You want to infuse that same soul we've been talking about into those automated responses as well. So they're not getting one experience over here, which is like, thank you for your order, we will be back later, and then over here you're getting tons of love. That love has to be in every touch point. Just to wrap it up, loyalty is not an A/B test away. In an industry where we're so focused on the metrics, and we should be, because it tells us about the health of our business, we often lose the soul. And what happens is that you're focused very, very micro. You're focused on this tiny little test that's happening right now. And guess what happens? If you test one more email today, guess what you do? You make more money. And if you test another email to go to 3 per day, you make more money. So John, well, this is what we should do. You make more money now. You're losing the customer at a churn rate of 50%, so that you're giving up the lifetime value later. And the problem is, as in most things that we have, whether in business or politics or in our lives, is that we focus now. Short-term rewards, because I'm going to get bonused on this quarter or whatever it might be. But if you align everybody around the brand long-term, you're focusing macro, not micro. It's art, not science. This is about the way you feel, not the math that you do. And it's an emotional, not a rational decision. So see the forest, not the trees. Keep your eye on this long-term opportunity in building a brand that people can be loyal to and the economics that go with it. I'm not saying eschew testing. Doesn't mean that A/B testing doesn't have a place. It means it has a great place after you set forth your true north for your brand and you're delivering on it. This is long-term. Invest in it long-term and stay the course. And when somebody says, yeah, but I did this thing, say, no. What is the brand promise? What are we aiming for here? What is the soul of this company? And refocus on that soul, and you'll stand out from the crowd. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate
it. We've got another 5, maybe 2 minutes or so for Q&A, so maybe we can do 1 or 2 questions.
Sure.
Does anyone have a question in mind? I'll run it over for you. Cool.
So I heard you on the Mixergy podcast with Andrew Warner, and you were talking about how most local florists don't even make money when they interact with these big companies. Instead, it's mostly on the POS aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So how are you able to get that information, and then what do you do differently?
Yeah, so local florists, if they join one of these networks, right, 100 Flowers or FTD, they join and they pay annual fees, right, X thousands of dollars for the right to get these orders. And you can find all this online, by the way. They all post it because it's a marketing tool, right? So you're going to pay these fees. You're going to sign up for this software, which you're going to pay some more fees, and then you're going to pay these per order fees. And when you take all that data and you roll it up and you look at on a per order basis how much is rev shared with those local florists, they might make 50 cents, they might make $1, maybe $1.50 if they're lucky. It's one of the reasons why florists are declining at a negative 10% CAGR. There used to be 50,000 florists in the United States. Now there's between 10 and 15,000 left. So it's a painful relationship for those folks. So we got that information by talking to florists who were fed up with that. There's actually an entire coalition of florists who are sort of fighting against 1-800-Flowers and FTD, trying to get florists to be independent from that. The way that we work with florists, because we do, is we just do a straight rev share that has no fees. We give you access to our software, access to our farm network for free. What we want to focus on is not making money from the florist. We want to make money from consumers. And when we make money from consumers, that means we're focused on the consumer experience. What 1-800-Flowers and FTD make money on is selling stuff to florists, so they're focused on the florist. And the florist isn't making any money, so therefore they're not focused on the consumer. So who's focused on the consumer? The answer is nobody. So what we do for florists is we say, hey, look, you currently buy flowers from this really old school supply chain. They arrive at your shop, they're already 2 weeks old. Come to us, we'll get them to you in 4 or 5 days. You're going to save money on your costs. We're going to drive you orders, just do a great job, and we're going to make economics so we can actually make money. And in that way, we're all incented around the same thing, which is reduce waste, get rid of all the waste from the farm to the florist, and then give the customer a great consumer experience. And so our platform enables that. It's in the early going, we have 350 florists roughly in about 300 markets across the U.S. It's growing very quickly. The farm and the florist are the two pieces of this supply chain that matter, and they're the ones that are experiencing the most pain. And so our platform, we hope, long-term will help them save and thrive in those businesses.
Okay, we're going to cut questions down here and start moving on to the next thing.
Sure, happy to chat out in the hall if there's further questions. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.